In this analysis video, we're going to take a look at the swing of Jon Rahm. Now, Jon Rahm was the #1 ranked amateur golfer. He recently turned pro and had some great success in his first event. While his swing may appear unconventional at first, we're going to take a look at how he demonstrates a lot of the classic pieces in a way that may be easy for you to implement in your own game. So Jon Rahm just had a pretty nice showing for his first professional tournament. After a really stellar amateur career, he finished tied for third at the Quicken Loans last week. Now, I'm going to show you that while his swing looks short, his swing looks flat, he's got a big bowed wrist at the top of the swing. We're going to see that he demonstrates a lot of the classic movements, such as very good sequencing, good arm shallowing, great timing of the arm movements, as well as a near perfect follow-through position, especially if you want to be a good driver of the golf ball. So by understanding those pieces, hopefully you'll be able to see how you can apply some of what he does so well to your own game. Now, one of the common questions that we get on our site is relating to the motorcycle movement and the arm shallowing. A lot of golfers do them dynamically in transition, and there's some advantage to doing that. But at least once a month or so, we'll get the question of, can I just bow the wrist at the top of the swing and pretty much hold on to it there? Jon Rahm is a golfer who kind of demonstrates presetting some of those movements up towards the top of the swing and then using really good body sequencing in the downswing in order to make those pieces just work. So he demonstrates a shorter arm movement with a already bowed or motorcycle lead wrist and a fairly shallow or flat shaft plane up at the top of the swing. So he's kind of preset some of the good pieces of the delivery position or some of the good pieces during the initial arm movements that you would want to see in transition. Since he's preset those movements, during the downswing, all he has to really focus on is turning his body, kind of staying in his spine angle or spine position, and then timing the sequencing with the arm movements as he approaches impact. So he's another really good driver of the golf ball typically, and we'll see that he demonstrates very late trail arm straightening. So if you look between, say, arm parallel and about shaft 45 before impact, you'll see that this movement through here is largely body dominated. You can see that his arms are doing some things, but it's largely body dominated. So by using his body that late in the downswing, you'll see that allows him to get a really good impact position where he's got his body rotated side bend pointing out in front of the target with a good amount of flex in that trail elbow, and you'll see that he straightens his arms on the way through. That'll be easier for us to see when we look at this face-on view over here on the right. While he didn't hit this particular shot very well, you can see that he demonstrates really good sequencing from this 3/4 view. You can see that his lower body and his core are largely leading the downswing, and we know that he's not going to have to do a whole lot of arm movement or kind of arm timing movements, since he preset a lot of that to end his backswing. But we will be able to see some of the really good pieces of his follow-through position from this 3/4 face-on view. So as he approaches impact, you can see that his body is rotated and side bended, and he's pointing out in front of the golf ball, roughly about 30 degrees or so. And then you'll see through impact, he's going to have great timing of that arm extension. He's going to let his arms fully extend so that they're getting as wide away from him as possible, even though he's technically pulling in because his body has executed a very good bracing movement. You see that the lack of tension in his arms allows them to get into this near straight, very good follow-through position. From the down the line view, you'll see that position looking very good from this view as well. Now we're going to highlight one little key in this down the line view that you may not have noticed at first glance looking at his swing, that is actually a trademark of a number of really good ball strikers, and it has to do with the grip pressure that he's likely demonstrating at impact. So now as we zoom in on this down the line view and we investigate further into the release, you're going to see that he gets into that tremendous lead wrist bowed position. But while he's in this bowed position, you can see that the club is not severely closed the way most of you would have it. Part of that is because he's already executed some of the right side bend, and he's executing a really good white movement where his arms are working across his body. As he does that, that's going to delay the closing of the club face. So even though he's bowed his lead wrist, the club face is not significantly closed. Now this is the position that would scare most amateur golfers, because with that amount of bow of the lead wrist, if Jon were to then straighten that arm to get to impact, this would be a low pull hook. But because he's powering this movement through here more with body rotation, that lead wrist is going to work out great for both controlling the club face as well as getting the wide point well after impact. So one of the things that we can see from the down the line view is the movement of his hands through the release. Now one of the interesting things you'll see here that a number of good golfers do is you'll see that the right hand is actually coming off of the grip through the release. If the club was to stay up against the right hand and he was to do this same movement, the club head would actually be somewhere over on kind of in this zone, kind of somewhere along that line on screen. Basically the club would be swinging much more to the left, but because he's letting that right hand off the club, he's allowed himself to have a much better path of the club through that release. And then you'll see that there's a interesting movement where the grip starts moving this way as his hands come back together. So he's basically not really having a whole lot of right hand pressure on the club. The left arm is kind of dominating this release, and then right around here where the club is pulling away from him, he's going to start activating the muscles of the right side in order to help slow it down, and that's going to pull the butt end of the club out that way. So if you have a tendency to have a lot of grip pressure with the right hand, a great way to work on this is to practice some lead arm only half swings. We have a couple different versions of the lead arm only half swing on our site, and they kind of really help you dial in this good effective release that has allowed Jon Rahm to have such a great amateur career as well as initial start to his PGA Tour career. So if you like the details of understanding why certain golfers are able to succeed with their swings and why other golfers struggle, you'll love the content at golfsmartacademy.com. Head over there and get a free membership, or for weekly updates and tour analysis, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube page.